Welcome to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head indoor track and field coach Dan Meyers. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
Jagger, thanks for having me.
So, Coach, just initial reactions, thoughts on the Ashland meet this past weekend.
We started out a little, I don't know in terms of maybe just a longer trip, but we started out a little flat on Friday, but really brought some things to life on Saturday after a big night of sleep. And overall, I was very, very pleased with how we ended on Saturday. And there were some marks that in terms of the throws or some of the things that like I didn't really predict, but like we needed to have to get those people into conference or at least get them in the top 16 with one meet to go this weekend. So I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, because you talk about finishing strong. You had 3 people enter all-time list, including Hannah Hill in the 800. That was her first time ever running it. Were you expecting her to perform like that?
That my pace card for her was like roughly in that, for 229, she ran 228.95. So, as an expectation from a coach, she always puts in the work and stuff like that. But like this year, we moved her more to a mid-distance role, especially with some of the volume that she gained in the fall from cross country. But honestly, it's one thing to train to prepare for that 8. It's another thing to go do it.
Exactly.
With a bunch of, girls in her ear that have done it before, it's like, it's not fun, like, all that different stuff. But, she handled it well. And I think there's a lot more in the tank just from the way she ran it. And it was, it was a great moment just for me as a coach in terms of, we've been doing this mid-distance plan for 2 months. She was supposed to run, probably almost 3 months. She was supposed to run the 8 at Youngstown, and we ended up going to that meet. So, and then we delayed it another week from running it. So it's been kind of in the works for a while, and it was nice that it finally came to light that she was able to do it. So that was huge, and she really has opened some stuff up for us in the mid-distance for sure.
And as you mentioned, you got 1 meet left before you hit the conference. You're at Marshall this weekend. Just, what are your expectations there?
It's the first time that we've ever competed as a program. First time our program has ever competed at a regular season meet at Marshall, and super appreciative to the Marshall coaching staff, and including Coach Chittister, or actually no, it's Coach Deem now, Coach Deem, and Coach Bowen, the head cross country coach, for extending the invite to us. And we're really excited that the week before our conference meet that we get to kind of do a little preview there of the facility. And, for some of our athletes, as much as I'd love to take everyone to the conference meet, it's brutal this year. It's top 16 as usual, but the conference is so deep. So for some of them getting to at least getting that last opportunity, I'm very happy for that. So
when you look at that, how are you going to handle that with what events people are in? And just, is that helpful for them to be able to run there 1 week before they go there for conference?
I think it's helpful. I think specifically for our distance runners, getting to run on a 300-meter track is huge, and just a little bit more experience there. I'm sure Marshall will throw in some great athletes into some heats that Natalie is in. So, that will be big. And then like just overall, like heading into next week, like, we'll declare, you might be 18th, you might sneak into an event, you might be 25th in an event. And after declarations, you might be 16th and you might get to go. So, it's going to be tough this week deciding on, some of our heavy hitters and specifically Natalie, what events we put her in going into the week, and going to tinker with the DMR lineup a little bit. So, there's a lot in store. This weekend we'll just hopefully open up and, validate some of the reasons of why we're doing things.
Well, Coach, it's a big week coming up, and we want to wish you luck, and thanks for coming on today.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head wrestling coach Dylan Cottrell. Coach, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to talk wrestling.
So, Coach, this past weekend, you went to the Greyhound Open at the University of Indianapolis. It's a familiar spot for you guys. And you said last week you were going to mix in some starters with some reserves. How did you feel that went this weekend?
Yeah, I was happy with the time that some of our non-starters got and our starters. So, as we talked, really the duels, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 duels coming up, actually 5 duels coming up, right? But I'm really not concerned if we go 5-0 or 0-5 in those duels. All those really go towards, since the duels don't count at all towards the end of the year, is my career record. Yeah. I could care less if I'm 100-0 as a coach or 50-50 as a coach, as long as I'm getting my wrestlers to the national tournament. Yep. So, went 1 and 2. Definitely could have went 2 and 1. We were beating UIndy going into the 97 match. We wrestled a backup instead of our starter because we wanted him to wrestle the next guy, right, and kind of get a break. And then McKendree, we lost big, but we didn't start like 4 of our guys, right? Like we didn't even, that one was really just like load management, right? So to be honest, could have probably went 3-0 this weekend if we didn't pull starters. But individually, great weekend, right? Had 7 ranked wins across the board. Gavin Kiocho got another one, beat the number 14 ranked kid in the country pretty easily. Both, and then UND dual, Ethan Hardy at 149 and Guy, they both had wins. Ethan
3-0, I believe.
Yeah, both 3-0 on the week. Ethan wrestled really well. He beat the 14th ranked kid, majored him 9-0. Guy beat the 12th ranked kid, majored him as well. And then Isaiah Castro had a ranked win, wrestled really well this weekend. He's kind of hot right now. Our top end is wrestling a lot better on the back half of the year, which is nice. Nick Johnson really had his coming out party this weekend. Yep. He beat the number 12 and the number 17 ranked kid in the country. He actually tech-falled the number 12 ranked kid. And then Gavin Shamlin, he's been so close. He's wrestling the best he's ever wrestled in his 4 years here, right? Inches away from beating Parks last weekend, who's ranked in the country. And it's like, when's he going to break through? Mm-hmm. He's wrestling the Maryville kid who's 12th, right? I mean, inches away from getting a takedown that would have been the upset. And it's like, okay, he's right there. You're just waiting for him to break through. 2 matches later, wrestles for 17th ranked kid in the country, beats him, yep. Right? So it finally gets that ranked win. So individually, we did exactly what I wanted. It was nice. We're still continuing, on the train. Like I said, this week of practice, the next couple weeks are going to be tough. And then, we'll be tapering into regionals.
And you talk about, load management for your starters. Your reserves get, to wrestle some high caliber talent this weekend. Was that good for them? Even with some losses that were there, was that good for them to get that experience?
I think more so, obviously, getting on the mat and doing that, but more like this, the experience. Mm-hmm. It's always different being a starter or per se wrestling with the starters than it is just going into an open on your own and doing your own thing. You get to kind of see what the real thing is, the real competition, and just be around that atmosphere. So it's always crucial for them to be able to get matches. It's great for retention, as well as just letting them kind of see where they need to be at for next year. I was really happy with being able to bring those guys with us and let them get some matches and just be part of that.
And you talked about Guy, Brady Ross, Hunter Ross, those guys. Now that they're individual champions, I mean, when your guys are facing nationally ranked opponents, when they're facing returning All-Americans, do you think now that they've won an NBC championship that the guys are always going to wrestle them hard, but it's kind of like they have a bullseye on their back because guys know that if they beat them, they have something to prove. Do you think that plays a factor in these matches now?
There's certain kids out there that look at stuff like that, and there's certain kids that, couldn't care less, right? I honestly would want to say no for being someone else's coach because I tell our guys not to look at stuff like that because there's so many different things in wrestling that go to it, let alone just someone winning a tournament, right? Stylistic matchups, different stuff like that. So I would hope no for their case, right? That's what we're telling our athletes, right? Rankings don't really matter. Again, this is a perfect example, right? Nick Johnson, okay, he beats the number 12 ranked kid in the country this week, 20-5. Tears him up, right? Wrestles the 17th ranked kid. He wins 4-3, and he gets a takedown with 6 seconds to go to win, right? So he's losing the whole match, wins right at the end. A guy who is five rankings below. So a lot of that style matchups and who they beat and who they don't beat. So no, really you just got to go out there and wrestle the next person in front of you. Let that kind of take itself where it is, right? Yep. We're worried about attitude and effort. We're not really a results-driven team, and we try to preach that a lot. And I think it helps our guys to not be nervous when they're going out there and competing because they know that I'm not going to be mad at them just because they lose, right, a match if they give great attitude and great effort, right? It's about competing. It's not about wins and losses, right? The wins and losses take care of themselves if they go out there and compete at their highest level. And that's what we want. We want them they put in all that work. We want them to be able to put in their best effort, right, and their best self at that time out there wrestling, right, rather than going out there and being like, oh, I get so nervous because I'm so worried about winning, and coach will get mad, or my parents will get mad, or I'll be upset. And it's like, just let it go, man, right? Wins and losses are not controllable, right? And go have fun and see where the chips fall. And I promise you, those wins and losses will take care of themselves if you do that.
And that strategy has worked, perfectly fine this year. Looking into this weekend, you're at the Ashland Tri-Meet. You'll face off with Ashland and Grand Valley State. Just what are your expectations there?
Again, back to it. I don't really care if we win the duels or not.
Yep.
Going to, especially this one's more than any of the other ones on, we're going to pick and choose where we wrestle at, because it's the last time we face a regional opponent, right? So it really means it's the last time that we're going to move up and down the needle in the regional rankings. So this one's really important for me as a coach to be looking through the week, see who they're wrestling. Is it advantageous for us to wrestle this one? Is it not? So we're going to take multiple guys up there in case we need to throw some non-starters in. At the same time, right? If it's one that it doesn't really matter, then our guys are going to wrestle, right? Like, I want to wrestle. It's just, if there's really no benefit at all, I can't I have to get past my ego of wanting my guys to compete all the time, right? No matter what, and be smart as a coach. And that's my job. So as much as I don't like that, right, and our guys don't either, I know that some of them will want to wrestle some of these guys. But we have to, at some point, right, let our brains overtake, right, what we're actually feeling, right? So it'll be exciting. Two great teams, right? Both the coaches, great guys. All the respect in the world for those guys running great programs, and excited to go up there and wrestle both of them.
Well, Coach, I want to wish you luck this weekend, and thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head women's basketball coach Emily Stoller. Coach, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
So, Coach, it was a tough week last week. You had 8 wins in a row. You got 2 tough teams last week. First started off with Frostburg State at home. Just a little bit on that.
Yeah, tough matchup for us. They came. They were ready to play. We owed them one back. They outworked us on our home floor, out-rebounded us by 20. So they really deserve to get that win on us. They worked for it.
And then you went Saturday, number 19, Fairmont State. Another tough one. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Fairmont's always a hard gym to play in.
Yeah, it is.
They're a really good team this year. And like I said earlier on, their chemistry is the best part about their team. And, they have girls that have been working together for 3 to 4 years. And the team chemistry that they have is unbelievable. So we knew it was going to be a tough matchup going in, playing them. I think our girls weren't ready to play that game either. We've been facing a lot of adversity, and
you have.
with injuries, unexpected injuries here and there. We've been trying to work, throughout those before, thinking about anything else. So I think that's just where we're at right now in the season is, we're trying to come back together as a team with the pieces that we still have left and try to figure out how to replace what we've lost.
And you speak about the injuries against Frostburg State. Jordan Shannon, a really key piece that she's been this year, tore ACL. It's the 4th that you've had this year. 3 of them, earlier in the year, you had to learn how to play without them, but it was early. Now you're 20 games into the season and that happens, and she's really came on lately. Her averages have just been going up through the year. She's really that I feel like that core piece in the middle. And then you talked about a little about Peyton James getting hurt at Fairmont. It's like the injury bug is just all over the place. How do you plan, moving forward with all that?
Yeah, so right now we have about 8 or 9 kids to go here. So
that's tough.
It honestly has come at a bad time here late in the season, but it could have came at a worse time here down the stretch. So we have a few games left here of the season to prepare for the Mountain East Conference tournament. So that gives us, some energy and excitement there that we can get some things figured out with the tools that we still have left in the bag. Just sticking together, fighting through adversity as a team. I think that's the only way we come through a moment like this. Really tough, a really big blow on us losing Jordan Shannon there for the rest of the season. But like I told my girls, I think if we just get a little bit more from each kid on the roster, each game, and it's going to be tough because a lot of the girls they're already playing towards their strengths and. To cover everyone else's weaknesses, and that's how I teach my girls to play. But just a little bit more from each kid, I think, is where we're at right now.
And looking into the week, it's a brand new week. It sucks with what happened last week, but now it's moving forward. You have Salem on Wednesday, a chance to kind of, get back on track. What do you expect out of that?
Yeah. So, definitely, we're in this rough stretch here going 0-2 this week. I think a few practices under our belt just to get back on the same page is going to help this group a lot. We look forward to going to Salem. It came down to the stretch there. Jordan Shannon actually hit the shot to put us into overtime. So we're definitely going to be missing that piece. We just can't drag it down to the last second since we don't have her to hit it for us. No, but we're excited to go up that way. And, like I said, after a few practices here to get under our belt just to get back on the same page is what's most important right now.
Yeah, and you'll finish the week out at home against Notre Dame. But, Coach, we appreciate you coming on, and good luck this week.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head men's basketball coach Bob Bolen. Coach, thanks for being here.
Jagger, thanks for having me today.
So, Coach, last week we were able to get back in the win column against Frostburg on Wednesday. Just, your initial thoughts on that.
Well, we had a balanced scoring attack, shared the ball well, didn't shoot it extremely well, but played good on the defensive end, and were able to get out there with a win.
Yeah, and Saturday you went to Fairmont. The road struggles were a thing, in the previous week. You played much better on the road, hit a tough stretch down about 10 minutes left in the game. Just your thoughts on that game as well.
Yeah, we were 8 for 14 threes the first half. Mm-hmm. Really shot it well, and we were defending well. And in the second half, I think Fairmont turned it up a notch, and we didn't. And it was a hard-fought game. I mean, I think it was still a 1-point game with a minute something.
Yeah, the score it doesn't indicate how the game really ended.
We're going to foul down 6 with 10 seconds. We're never going to quit.
Mm-hmm. And, exactly.
It was a hard-fought game. We only shot 5 free throws the whole game.
It's tough too,
and that was a little disappointing. But Fairmont's a good team. We're right there. We just got to turn that corner. We're really close against some good teams, and we got 3 weeks to keep getting better before that conference tournament.
And you talk about turning the corner. What is it going to take from your guys to be able to do that to close out a game like Saturday against Fairmont?
Yeah, we have to get consecutive defensive stops.
Yep.
And when we get defensive stops, we're able to get into our running game, and we're pretty good at that.
Yeah,
sprinting down the court, pitching, shooting threes, and scoring before the defense gets set. But when we don't get stops, we can't get into our transition, and that's where the drag has happened. And we got some consecutive stops the first half, and the game was played at our tempo. But then the second half, we had trouble getting consecutive stops.
And then looking into this week, you square off with Salem, Notre Dame. You split with Salem early in the year. You beat Notre Dame earlier. Just third matchup with Salem. What are your expectations there?
Yeah, we have to come to play.
Yeah.
I think they're a much better team than their record indicates. They beat us really badly early in the season. I know they ended up 12, but it was worse than that.
Yeah.
And then we were able to get a win at home. And if I'm not mistaken, Salem beat us both times last year.
Yeah, they swept last year.
Yeah, so, we got a challenge ahead of us, and then we have to be ready for it. And then, Notre Dame, we won that game at the buzzer.
Devin Collins,
Yeah. He made a good defensive stop right at the buzzer. He and Jalen came in and got a huge rebound to end the game. And, Turbo was phenomenal up there. I think he had 29 or 30.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so, we know we got every game's tough in this conference.
It definitely is.
We got 2. We don't have to travel very far to Salem. We got 1 here at home. So, we're excited about the week coming up.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on today, and we want to wish you luck for the week.
Thank you, Jagger.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coach Show. With me now, I have head acrobatics and entanglement coach Taylor Broadwater. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
So, Coach, first things first, Saturday's meet against West Liberty, you got the win. Just your thoughts on that.
Very exciting for us. Last year, I know we talked about last week, we lost by 0.6.
Yep.
So that was something that was in the back of the girls' head the entire meet. And at one point, we were down by 0.6. And they came up to me and said, "Hey, Coach, what is this?" And I said, "Hey, keep your head in the game and let's see what happens." So that's exactly what they did. But we were behind the whole meet until team event. So that's something that we have stressed a lot in practice is this meet could come to the final event, which is team event.
And
for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you have to be on your A game and do what you need to do. and the girls rallied together and they made that happen. So I'm glad at the end of the day, we played it safe this meet and went with some lower skills just to be clean, and it paid off in the end.
And you talk about that because you talked about last week about performing under pressure, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. It's the first meet, you're at home. You talked about last week, 0.6 has been stuck in your all's head all year. It's an MEC match. There's a lot of things going. You're trailing going into the end. What does that say for your girls, performing under pressure when you're down, going into the final event?
Right. So that's something we really worked on at practice, and I tried to throw them under pressure at practice. I would switch it up and say, hey, okay, I know we did this event already. We're going back to it. Can you hit under pressure this time? Like, you have to prove to me that you're consistent. And that's something the girls, we made mistakes this meet. I can't say that it was a perfect meet for us. We definitely have improvement, but I think that they did well and performed under pressure and made things work.
And how's it feel to avenge the loss from last year? Because I know it, sounded you guys heavy, but how did it feel just to get that done?
It felt great.
I can see by the reaction at the end of it.
Right. It was a great feeling for sure. I think the biggest thing, though, wasn't even just the win over West Liberty. Like, yes, we wanted to beat them, and that was important to us, but at the end of the day, we broke program record, and that's what they were really excited about, was finally breaking program record that we worked so hard for last year. And this year, that was obviously a goal. I can't say I expected that first meet just because of everything we've been through this year. I wanted them to be consistent and just do what they know how to do. I preached, I want you to compete how we've been practicing. And that's what they did for the most part. But just being able to do that was, it was a great feeling.
And you say you weren't expecting that, but first meet of the year, you do that is that's a goal, but what does that say about your girls to be able to do that first meet? Because, there's jitters in the first meet. You're facing West Liberty. What does that say about them to be able to do that in the first meet of the year?
I think that definitely proved to the girls that they're very capable of a lot of things this season, where I feel like they have been doubting themselves at times. And I just tell them, you have to believe in yourself. I believe in you guys, but do you believe in yourself? And that's something I think at practice they've kind of gone back and forth on, because they know they're able to do the events, but then when we practice it, sometimes, it doesn't hit. And then they're like, well, what did we do? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you just have to move forward. You have to be able to next play. You have to be able to keep your head in the game. And going out that meet, and I think hearing that score really sunk in, because after the meet, just the mindset of all of them and how they talked to me, they were like, wow, coach, you're right. Like, we really can be something special this year. And hearing them finally say it for themselves meant a lot.
And now you go off the high from the win, and now you move into next week. Fairmont State, another team you fell to last year. Just what are your expectations there? My
expectations with them are definitely for the girls to just continue to do what we know how to do. A lot of times we talk about it's us against us, not us against the other team. Yep. So that's definitely a meet. Fairmont is a wonderful team. So coming into this meet on Sunday, I just want them to do what we know how to do. I want to clean up things that we made mistakes at this meet. And as long as we do that, that's all I can ask for from them.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the big win. I know you guys were really excited about that, but good luck this week, and thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.